Hey guys, Jordan Bellinger here again. Today we're going over negotiating, and these are just a few of the books, a few of the books that I've learned how to negotiate. Not all of them are negotiation books, but there's something, at least one thing in every one of these that I've learned on how to negotiate. And negotiating is not a fight. It's not an argument. It's not a battle. There's no reason to do that. At the end of the day, a negotiation is the seller wants something, the buyer wants something, seller wants to sell, buyer wants to buy, and you try to find a place somewhere in the middle where everyone agrees and you get a deal done. That's negotiation. And it's how do you get everyone to that point. So, love some of these books. Never Split the Difference, excellent negotiation book. It's written by an FBI negotiator or ex-FBI negotiator. This one is written by, this one's Getting to Yes. Again, it's another great book. I think I found this book in that book. I think it was referenced in there. This one is one of the guys that was in here was part of the Harvard Negotiation Project. So another cool, very good book. Raving Fans. You, as a real estate agent, you need other real estate agents to be raving fans of yours. Why? Because they're the gatekeepers. They're the ones who you have to work with day in and day out. And so if you don't have a good reputation, if you don't have a good relationship with the other real estate agents in your area, you're gonna have a really hard time doing business and getting great deals for your clients. This one's cool. This one is actually an advanced reader's edition that's not for sale of this book. This book came out a few years ago. It's How to Fascinate, or How the World Sees You, How to Fascinate. I think they changed the title of the book when they actually printed it. But this book's kind of cool. It focuses on, if there's a test that goes to it, and then anyways, it focuses on what are you really good at, what naturally comes to you. And I don't know if natural is the right word, but what are you good at, and how can you focus on being really good at that and getting people around you that are good at things you're not good at. Strength Finders, if you've ever been in the corporate environment, you probably know what this book is. If you haven't, kind of self-explanatory. Oh, this book. This book's one of my favorites. My mom gave it to me. That's not really the reason it's one of my favorites. It is just a really good book written by a Navy SEAL that goes through everything that he learned in being a SEAL and being an elite warrior into business and just being really good at what you do. And so not really a negotiation. I don't even recall if it has anything specifically negotiating in there, but it has a lot of really cool stuff that just is phenomenal for business and everything. I mean, look, select high-value targets, explore your options. One of the things he said, he goes, every option is on the table. Like, I like that. So the way they approached missions is they would go out there and say every option is there. So even though it's not an option, it is an option. So if something is not standard protocol or policy or whatever, it was still an option. And so if they needed to take that option, they would find a way to do it. And just good book. If you haven't read it, go read it. I don't think it ever made a list or anything. I don't know. Maybe I got it before it made a list. Maybe it's on a #1 bestseller. But good book. Highly recommend it. And then a bunch of other books that we'll push out of the bunch of other books that we'll push out of the screen. So what I wanted to go over is negotiating, and that's the next step. So we talked about this, right? We talked about the paperwork, we talked about the offer, how to write an offer, all that stuff. But I want to talk about negotiating, which is the stuff in between the lines that you really don't think so much about. Soft skills, if you will. So when it goes to negotiating, one of the first things I do, and this is like it's like magic. I'll pick up my phone, I'll dial the agent, and I'll call the agent and say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Agent, I have a client that we looked at your house at 123 Main Street yesterday at 5 p.m. They really liked the house. They might be putting together an offer. What is it that your seller is looking for in that offer? And then you wait, and you let them talk, and you just let them talk and talk and talk. And then you ask other follow-up questions that are open-ended, and you get as much information as you can get. And that's going to give you the information that you need some of the time to get what you need to get to put together an offer. For example, I called an agent. This was this one's already closed, but I called this agent maybe 2-3 days before. It was after we showed the property. I had a couple follow-up questions to the property that we looked at because I already knew that my client was probably going to put together an offer. And so I called him right off the bat, say, hey, we looked at the home, had a couple follow-up questions to the property. So he knows my voice. He knew how I sounded. He knows a little bit about me. We kind of talked a little bit and asked some questions, went back and forth in dialogue. We're building rapport. Then, I think a day later, 2 days later, we look at it again, and then we wrote an offer. And when I called him, I said, hey, this is Jordan. He's like, hey, man, how's it going? I was like, good. I said, I think he's about to write an offer. What does your seller need? And he goes, they want a quick close. Like, cool, what else? Doesn't mean we're going to give him all those things as the buyer, because it might not work for my buyer. But he had some stuff, and we kind of talked it over with the client, and then our buyer put together an offer, sent it to him, and then there happened to be 2 offers. Which right now, it's not often that there are more than one offer on a property at the same time, but there were 2 offers. We're like, we're multiple offers. So we gave them our highest and best. We didn't really adjust our offer too much. I don't even think we adjusted at all. But we put our highest and best, which is just saying, hey, this is our final offer. And in so many words, I guess. He calls back. He says, hey, man, it's like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And I usually shut down. I won't answer my phone that late at night. I'll just get it in the morning. But saw it come through. I'm like, we need to do this now. So he goes, hey, give me a call when you get a chance. Want to discuss the offer. Called him, and I get him on the phone. He goes, hey, my seller wants to wrap it up tonight. I was like, great. Where are we at? And he goes, gave us a few things. I said, okay, well, those don't seem too big. Let me call the buyer, and I'll get back to you. So I called my buyer at like 10 o'clock at night. So I said, hey, here's where we are. What do you think of this? We go back and forth a little bit. We agree with it. I think we pushed back a few times. Anyways, they accept our offer. We closed quick, which is what they wanted. We did a couple things that what they wanted, but they gave us a bunch of stuff that my buyer wanted. And at the end of the day, I've been talking to this agent for like every day for 3 or 4 days, asking questions about the house. We built rapport. We wrote an offer. We got an offer accepted. It made, I don't even know if it was the highest offer, but it made the most sense for the seller to take our offer. That is what negotiation is about. It's not about fighting. It's not about arguing. It's not about going to battle with the other side, because that's not what it's about. It's about getting everyone happy. It needs to be a win-win-win to get stuff done. And so that's part of it. But the other thing I wanted to say is that when you're interviewing your agent, when you're talking to your agent, what kind of personality do they have? Are they abrasive? If they're abrasive, then you're probably going to have issues down the road when it comes to negotiating. You might never hear about it. You might send an offer in, and your offer is declined, and you don't hear anything else about it. Well, if your agent is abrasive and that other agent didn't have a good taste in their mouth, they might bad talk that agent to their client. Now, you shouldn't do that, because that's not really necessary. However, it happens. What if is your agent a pushover? Is your agent a little too soft? Well, let's say you want to put in an offer that's lower than what they feel is right. Maybe your agent thinks that it's way too low. Is your agent still going to put in that offer? And are they going to fight for that low offer? Or are they going to just kind of put it in and go, here it is? Or are they going to go in and be confident about that low offer? How are they going to approach it? So you got all sides of it. You want to be likable, and likable is a term I used to use in my previous life often, because likability as a leader, as a manager, is super important. You can be really good at what you do, and you can be a jerk, and no one wants to work with you. You can be good at what you do, and you can be really likable, and there's a lot of people that want to work with you. And so that likability factor is really important. And so you go into that, and where was I? Yeah, so you go into that, and you talk about being likable. Like if your agent, which I would hope the agent that you choose is likable and you have a good relationship with them, but if you don't, that could cause problems down the road, especially when in multiple offer. They're going to pick an agent that they know is professional. And that goes to another thing that I want to talk about is being organized, being professional, being good at your craft is super important, because if I call the agent on the other line and I know what I'm talking about, I know my stuff, I know the neighborhood, I know the house, I know all this stuff, they're going to be more confident working with me than they will be with another agent that doesn't know their stuff. So that is all of that goes into play with negotiation. Because if I call you and I'm professional and I'm likable and I'm informed and I'm educated and I'm good at what I do, you are more likely to want to work with me. versus, let's say you've heard I'm good at what I do. I'm educated in what I do. I'm informed, all those things, except I'm not very likable. Are you going to be a little bit concerned about working with me? Probably. So you got to have all that stuff lined up, because it works the same way when I call another real estate agent on the phone trying to get your deal accepted. So that's what negotiating is all about. And at the end of the day, the simplest form of negotiating is going, I don't know why I don't need props. If I have a buyer here with a low offer, I have a seller here at list price, in some way, I got to get them on the same page. Once they become on the same page, we can get a deal done. Sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes the buyer won't go up high enough and the seller won't come down enough to make a deal happen. And that's just a tiny factor of getting a deal done. But if you can't get everyone on the same page, it was not going to happen. That's negotiating. That is step 7, I think, of the process, is negotiating. You write an offer, you send it in, but all that soft stuff in between is so important, almost more important than the offer itself. So something to think about. Next step is going to be, once we have an offer, once we write the offer in the paperwork, we've negotiated it, everyone agrees upon it, everyone signs it, buyer, seller, not everyone, but the parties to the contract sign it, it becomes executed, it becomes a contract. Once it becomes a contract, then what do you do? That's the next step. So again, my name is Jordan Bellinger, and thanks so much for joining me. If you have any questions, reach out directly. We can start the process at any point in time. So again, thank you so much and have a wonderful day. Bye.